Hello, how are you? Today, I've picked out for you the 5 main mistakes that many people make when hydrating chia seeds for consumption. A lot of people choose to hydrate chia seeds to get more benefits from them, but they end up doing it the wrong way. And not only do they fail to get the enhanced effects of chia, but it can even cause health problems. And I'm going to tell you what these 5 mistakes are so you can pay attention. Stick around, you won't want to miss this. Before we start, I want to ask you, do you eat chia on a daily basis? How much do you consume and at what time of day? I would love to read your comment. Remember to like the video. That really helps me out and shows YouTube that you enjoy the channel and support my content. A lot of people like to eat chia every day, right? Because chia is a wonderful seed. Besides not having a very strong flavor, in fact, it barely tastes like anything, it's an excellent source of soluble fiber and forms a very interesting mucilage that helps increase satiety. In our body, it makes intestinal transit easier. Since it attracts a lot of water, it helps things move along and prevents constipation. On its own, it's a very interesting source of healthy fats, precursors to omega-3, and it's anti-inflammatory. So it's a food that more and more people are adding to their daily routine. Many people are starting to choose hydrated chia, either for convenience when consuming it or because they're thinking about the extra benefits related to satiety. I'll tell you more about that. But there are people who do this the wrong way, and then they can't fully get the benefits, or it can even harm their health. So let's talk more about that here. First of all, if you're looking to hydrate your chia quickly, you need to pay attention to the temperature of the water you're going to use to hydrate the chia. Unless you leave it there for a long time if you have more time available. Most people are in a rush in their daily lives and usually want it to hydrate as quickly as possible. So, ideally, you shouldn't use very cold water to hydrate chia because we know that cold water slows down the hydration process. If that's not an issue for you, you can use water at whatever temperature you like, but if you want the hydration to happen more quickly, it's best to use water at room temperature or slightly warm. That way, you activate the jellification process faster and can use it more quickly in your recipes and preparations, without having to wait a long time for it to hydrate. The second point has to do with how long you need to let the chia rest for the hydration to actually happen. This will also take into account the temperature of the water, as I just mentioned to you. The colder the water, the longer it will take for the chia to hydrate, okay? But considering that you'll be using water at room temperature, usually 15 to 20 minutes is enough time for it to fully hydrate. You'll see that it hydrates when you look at the seed, which is usually hard. It will have a kind of transparent halo around it. The mucilage, right, will be hydrated. And here's an interesting detail. When you take a spoon and dip it into the chia, right? When you submerge it in the chia, the seeds no longer stick to your spoon. That's an interesting point. When chia is not fully hydrated, it still sticks a lot to things because it's still looking for liquid to, well, hydrate itself. So, 15 minutes, 20 minutes is usually a good amount of time for the chia to get nice and plump and well hydrated. The longer you leave it, the better. You can leave it in the fridge for 12 hours if you want. In fact, some people love to make a chia pudding for breakfast. They prepare it before going to bed, leave it in the fridge overnight to hydrate, and in the morning, it will be super plump and well hydrated. That's a good option for you too. Another mistake is using the wrong liquid, and that can make a difference because a lot of people mix it with box juice, processed juice, and that really increases the amount of sugar in that meal. Some people say, oh, I'm going to use pure grape juice to hydrate the chia, or I'll use orange juice, those store-bought ones that have, 30 grams of carbohydrates in a glass. Of course, adding chia will lower the glycemic index of these juices, obviously, but if you're trying to control your blood sugar, for example, that's already a very large carbohydrate load. So it all depends on why you're consuming chia, and ideally, you should choose non-caloric liquids, or at least a light drink. I have a video here about how to drink juice the right way. I'll leave it down below in the description for you. But remember that filtered water is a good option, as well as natural coconut water without sugar, plant-based milks, or the milk you already use regularly. Or even teas can be good options for hydrating your chia. Another issue has to do with the proportion of chia, and that's where many people make mistakes. Because there are people who take a tablespoon of chia and they add just a little bit of water to hydrate it, thinking that will be enough to fully hydrate it, even with so little liquid. We know that to properly hydrate chia and make it easier for your digestion, as well as to increase satiety, the usual ratio is 1 tablespoon of chia to a cup of water. After all, we know that chia needs a lot of water to stimulate intestinal transit and to avoid the risk of choking, right? There are people who have actually choked on dry chia. That happens when someone doesn't hydrate it at all. But if you hydrate it with very little water, it will stay hard, it will remain unhydrated, even though you added a small amount of liquid, it was too little. So this proportion of water is important. At least half a glass, because if you're going to add it, say, to yogurt or some other dish, maybe you don't need to dilute the chia that much. But if you're going to take it fully hydrated, for example, before lunch, a glass of water is a good proportion for 1 tablespoon of chia. Another mistake is not considering what you want from chia or at what time you consume chia, right? Because chia is very versatile and it has several different benefits. For example, if you want to reduce carbohydrate absorption, the ideal is to consume it with a source of carbohydrates, right? If you want to slow down that absorption. So, if you're looking to regulate your blood sugar levels, the ideal is to consume it with a carbohydrate or during a meal where you have a lot of carbohydrates, because then, thanks to its satiating power, mucilage, and soluble fibers, it will slow down intestinal transit and help the carbohydrate be absorbed more gradually. Now, if you want a prebiotic effect from chia, the ideal is for you to consume it on an empty stomach, first thing in the morning, a glass of water with a few drops of lemon if you like, and hydrated chia. It's great for waking up your intestines and starting your day off right. Hydrating the intestines, adding soluble fibers, moistening the stool to promote healthy intestinal transit. If you're looking for satiety, the ideal is to consume it before the meal when you feel the hungriest. And of course, always use already hydrated chia because it will be swollen and take up more space in your stomach. And when you consume, for example, a glass of this hydrated chia I mentioned, 1 cup of water with a tablespoon of chia. 20 minutes before lunch or dinner, when it's time to eat, you'll end up eating less rice, pasta, bread, potatoes, chicken, or other high-calorie foods. So, chia will help curb your appetite and support weight loss. So, the ideal is for you to better understand what chia is and what its benefits are, so you can use it the right way. I have many videos here on the channel talking about the benefits of chia, about the relationship between chia and blood sugar, and the relationship between chia and inflammation, and about the relationship between chia and the gut. What is the difference between psyllium, chia, and flaxseed? There are some really cool videos here, and I'll leave them down below in the description for you. Besides lots of chia recipes, there's already a playlist. So I'll leave it down below to inspire and help you. Tell me if you've made any of these mistakes and which one do you think is the most concerning. I would love to see your comment. Remember to like the video, that will help me a lot. And share this video with anyone else who needs to know these tips. Let's work together to expand this chain of good because that's what I want here with the channel. See you next time. Bye.